Perfect. I think we have everyone. Thank you for waiting, everyone. Appreciate your patience. And thanks everyone for joining. So this is the first of 3 webinars that we'll be running with the Surrey Law Society. And details of all of the webinars that are coming up are on screen now. So as you can see, we're at number 1, but there's 2 more to follow later on in the year. And we'll have support listed on surreylawsociety.org.uk. Wanted to say before we jump into the session that any questions you have, do put in the chat. We want to make sure that this is as engaging as possible. So put them in there, and I will share them as we go through the session with our resident expert, Alina. And the session will also be recorded, so we can send it around to you afterwards if there's bits to catch up on, or if you have anyone that would also like to join. So today we'll be covering, I think you've got up a different screen there, Alina, just purple one, I think it is. But whilst you're doing that, today we'll be covering 3 key sections. So gaining crucial insights, so learning to manage your money effectively. And then we'll be going through securing your future, think about financial goals, and really empowering yourself and making sure that you can make financial decisions that are right for you now and also in the future. I'll hand over to Alina, but I know what you're like, Alina, so I want to make sure that you get all the praise that you deserve in terms of your introduction. So Alina has had over 20 years in the financial industry and is a money mentor. So even winning awards for the 2023 and 2024 Financial Education Champion of the year in the Personal Finance Society. So really a big advocate for financial wellness and money management and everything in between. So it's more than just thinking about money with Alina, it's thinking about your mindset and planning for your future. I'll hand over to you, Alina, in case there's anything I've missed in your intro, and to jump into the session. And as I say, any questions, do pop them in the chat and I can read them out and make sure we get them answered.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. Lovely to see some of you, and I'm hoping to see more of you as we progress through the webinars. I think the benefit of doing it this way is that hopefully with more awareness and curiosity, you get to ask more questions, and the better the questions, the better the answers. And with better answers, I can see, especially with my clients, that the quality of their decisions does improve, and that has a beneficial effect on how they progress towards the future they want. Well, today, what do we do today? Today we are scheduled to cover some of the foundational elements of financial planning. We start with mindset. Why money mindset? Is because knowing is not doing. You know it, I know it. And so today is probably not going to solve all the problems in the world. But like I said, if we plant the seed and we create awareness and curiosity, and you take one action that you have postponed for so long, that is important, urgent, and beneficial, I think we'll call it a win. Money mindset has a huge role in the quality of our decision making. So we're going to unpack that again, high level, and hopefully as we progress through the sessions to follow, you get asked more specific questions with relevance for your circumstances, or to just boost your confidence with that. We're going to talk about debt and credit score, the what and the why. Again, very complex matter. We're going to cover it in sort of a high level for you to understand that not all debt is bad. I know it has a bad rep usually, but not that debt is bad. Actually, debt used in the right way facilitates access to things and experiences that really are meaningful to us. And so today is about potentially having a more of an awareness and how to navigate debt well. And again, we're going to unpack that further. in the future sessions. And then for those of you who just hope for the best and want to immerse themselves in the world of credit, but have a little bit of fear to do with credit score, we're going to look at the importance of that. Now, for those of you who already play in the debt space, you have credit, maybe you can listen to what we're saying today with curiosity to teach that to your children and grandchildren. Because I think debt and credit are still elements that do cause people a lot of stress and anxiety. So hopefully we debunk some of the myths around debt and credit score, and you look at it with more of a sense of an opportunity. Now, budget and savings, again, complex, on their own can really be the subject of one big conversation. But hopefully you get to see budget and savings today not as limitations, not as a way to say no in the now, not as a way to say no to enjoying the moment and the money that you work so hard to earn, but as tools in your toolkit to open up opportunities, options, so you can afford the choices that you want to make. And lastly, again, high level, very high level, we're going to talk about taxes. So for you to be aware, to put taxes in the context of strategic planning. Again, we're going to unpack that further in the next webinar. But to be aware that taxes, although they sound scary, and the more we earn, the more I don't know, how should I say, we get to develop a love-hate relationship with tax. But also tax presents its opportunities in the shape of using the tax efficient solutions out there. So we're going to raise some awareness around those. And what I mean by that is when we talk about ISAs and pensions and things like that. So hopefully, whether you are at the beginning of your journey, in your mid-career, or you've had an accomplished career so far, and you're looking towards the sort of the later life planning, I think there's something for everyone today. So without further ado, let's have a look at this. Now, money and mindset, just like I said, mindset is looked at as the fluffy bit of money management. And I think it can be quite limiting if we look at that, if we consider that. I think if we were to unpack the decision-making process, it requires knowledge because you want to know what you're doing. It looks at the practical aspects of money management. We talk about the state. It's to do with what emotional state we're in, what sort of mind frame we employ when we make those decisions. So knowledge, state, and also process, because process requires putting all of the information together with the emotional state, the mind frame together to make decisions in a consistent way, so that with consistency we gain competence, and with competence we gain confidence. And confidence is essential in making money decisions. In the lack of confidence creates stress and anxiety, and there may be something that you're maybe quite familiar with. So when we talk about practical elements of financial decision making, we look at knowing in your numbers, and it stems from a very objective place of cost of living and the quality or standard of life that we aim to, the circumstances that we have personally, all the economical and social aspects of your lives. Where you choose to shop, and where you choose to work, and where you choose to live, and who you choose to hang out, and where. If you're, it's to do with whether you are financially dependent or independent or codependent. All these aspects stem from an objective place, is to do with practical decisions. Now, for you to sustain practical decisions, it's quite important that you become a student of the emotional side, the mindset that goes behind, that fuels those practical decisions. The emotional side of your decision making is to do with your personal and cultural biases, is to do with your personal circumstances, is to do with what's important and urgent to you, is to do with the state, the emotional state that you're in. So with that, all of these elements can determine how well you plan, how well you take risks, how you're able to see money as a positive in your life. The emotional side of money is something that is quite fascinating to explore, and you do it bit by bit. As you gain in confidence to go explore those areas of your decision making, enough for you to understand, is this limiting or is this boosting my ability to make decisions? I find that a few things do matter in making sure that you align the practical elements and the emotional elements of your decision making. One of the elements is, and it's something that I spend a lot of time with my clients to unpack, is to do with defining your version of financial well-being, defining your version of success. We tend to compare, and that comparison can take a lot of mind space and can drive quite a few unproductive money decisions. So it's quite important aligning that, making sure that you are defining clearly, articulating clearly your definition of success. It's also important to align your actions and decisions with your aspirations and priorities and your circumstances. So again, you choose where to focus in the now and the soon and the later. And you learn to prioritize, because every single time we start a conversation in the money management space, we start with a huge pile of things that need addressing. And that can feel overwhelming and stressful and disempowering. So it's quite important to break things down into, what do I need in the now, and what do I need in the soon, and what do I need in the later. And then also, the third element that improves financial well-being and through the quality of decisions is to do with making decisions from a positive emotional state. It may sound easier said than done, but it does become easier with practice. And the practice requires not only to be mindful of when you're most likely to be in a good state of mind when you make decisions, but also it requires a practice of understanding the changes that you go through and the toll is taken on you. So, for example, I see huge amounts of change when people become new parents, when they buy their own home, when they prepare for retirement. These are milestones, or when they lose a dear one, or when they go through health changes, when they go through a divorce. These things can really take their toll, putting people in a state of vulnerability. Whether the events are positive or negatives, it does affect how we think about things. So at any given time, it's important to understand, am I in a state of survival, meaning all I do is trying to make ends meet? Am I in a state of growth? Am I in a state of thriving when everything works for me? And understanding that at any given point in time, as we go through change, we can easily go from thriving to surviving in one bit. That is important too. And by the end of the exercise, understanding, what do I need to know? What do I need to do about this? Am I in a good state of mind to make decisions? And what process am I creating around that? When money and mind align, that's when magic happens. So hopefully, during our journey together, we're going to help align these two elements really, really well and create a process around that to sustain your aspirations, priorities, and improve your circumstances. Now, a lot of people ask me, can you give me a framework? I know all is that well and good, but how do I measure success? So we put up here some elements that hopefully will focus your mind in terms of how do I validate my success? So a manageable level of financial stress, meaning that you can stay on top of your financial commitments at any given point in time without stretching yourself too much. Your stretches, your aspirations are challenging yet realistic, and you can keep on track with a sense of opportunity, and not always from a place of scarcity and fear. Living a lifestyle within our personal means. It's relevant at any given point in time. A lot of people, when they go about spending, they find themselves intuitively spending in a way that suited them up to the point. It's always important to review: am I able to sustain this lifestyle that I want? You have access to emergency fund savings, always prepared for the surprises we don't want, and able to, do you have sufficient insurance and financial protection in place to be able to navigate financial winters? All those risks that you need to be aware of, the risk of loss of life, a loss of income, loss of health, loss of capacity. The question is, and again, it's not from a place of fear, but from a place of opportunity of protecting you and your own. Again, one measure of success is having no high interest unsecured debt, meaning you can stay on top of your debt and it doesn't snowball into something that is outside your reach. And also, a measure of success is to have a plan to reach your financial goals. And by that, I don't mean big, unbelievable goals. Every single time we talk about goals, people imagine they need to be in that place where they can paint a picture with pure clarity, and they need to impress me with a vision of their financial well-being over the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. Nothing like that. Remember, having a plan is sometimes to do with survival, making it from one day to the next, and that's good enough. So when you sit down by yourself with your dear ones or with a professional, always pause and reflect. Do I have a plan in place? Am I prepared for the unexpected? Do I feel in control of the day-to-day spending? What steps have I taken to adapt my personal financial strategy? Meaning, am I keeping up with the change that I'm experiencing? Okay, am I able to take the reins to reclaim that control, or everything is from it's managed from outside in, meaning I'm always reacting? So being able to respond, to feel in control, and to be able to adapt, that can put you in a hugely positive place of strength. Now, when you look at financial health, you look at what comes in, what works, all the assets and all the good stuff that work for you from a money point of view, from a personal point of view, emotional point of view. But it's also important to look at what could potentially detract from the stability, the level of control, and your confidence. And sometimes it's to do with, probably more common than not, we look at debt as an element that can play a huge amount of role in people's level of stress and anxiety and the sense of lack of control. So knowing how to navigate that can contribute hugely to your sense of well-being. I was talking to Jen the other day, and she said, look, you know what? I would just love to know that I'm not alone. Sometimes when we talk about emotional health, financial health, we all want to feel like it's normal. And part of the normalizing money conversations is understanding that you're not alone in this. a lot of people struggle with debt. It's not a given. It, like I said, you're not born with an ability to navigate debt naturally. It's a learned skill. Now, there are some sobering stats out there. Probably one of the things that jumped at me is that over 9 million people have borrowed money as a direct result of the pandemic. Why? I mean, you're more than welcome to put in the chat what you think that drove this situation, this state. Look again at the practical and emotional elements of it. From my experience, there's an element, the practical element of higher cost of living, lower income, the economical circumstances that do scream uncertainty, the rising interest rates when it comes to mortgages and so on. A lot of that is to do with a practical element. For a lot of my clients, there's an emotional element that drove their decisions. All of a sudden, life seemed too short. All of a sudden, being aware of the finite nature of money and life and health did drive people to go places where they haven't thought it was possible, out of that fear of not having lived enough, not having lived to the quality they would have liked. And so that tipped a lot of people in credit cards and personal loans, which have become the most common type of debt. I think the probably for a lot of you, buy now, pay later is a way to access things and experiences that you really want to access without the need of having the money up front. As long as you stay on top of it, it's all good. I am still having to help a lot of people ride this wave and cure their money practice, money habits of buy now, pay later. So debt used well is great. Used in a way that is not sustainable can tip a lot of people into debt and financial challenges. But again, if you're in that place, it's just knowing how to navigate and bounce back is very important. So not all debt is bad. The good debt, you recognize it because it creates value for you. And we mentioned mortgages and student loans and business loans. Basically anything that helps build assets and intrinsic value, that counts as a good debt. Bad debt is usually something you can't stay on top of it. It's high interest credit cards, personal loans for discretionary purchases, basically for all those things that you may be paying because they bring you fleeting joy, but they don't create a lasting value. In fact, they erode value because basically they compromise the potential of your future in income. Payday loans, I'm a fierce advocate of trying to stay away from them. But the reality is, when the money is short, when challenges come our way, sometimes in a vulnerable state, a lot of people navigate towards those. And that in itself is a full all-day conversation. I'm going to spare you now, but just that awareness that there's a dual function of debt, and staying on the good side of it can bring super benefits. How to manage your debt. So if you're in that space, ideally, before you speak with a professional or you try to take action by yourself, know what debt you have and what you're paying. Automate your debt repayments using your direct debits and standing orders. Switch debt to 0% interest where possible via a balance transfer. That is, again, depending on what caused the debt, it's ideal to switch to debt to zero interest rate when you're absolutely confident in your ability to drive more positive money results. Aim to consolidate debt to simplify and have just one payment to make. Sometimes it's easier to do that, to consolidate. Sometimes you just have to employ other strategies, and we're going to look into that at some point. Avoid payday loans, as mentioned. and only spend within your means and avoid buy now, pay later. Now, if any of you feels in a place of limited options and choices, and you've tried all this and you feel that not many options are available to you, there is a service called Step Change. It's a professional debt advice service that will sit down with you in a judgment-free environment and work things out with you to get you out of this situation. I cannot stress enough how invaluable that service is. I've only had beautiful reviews from the clients who access that. So before you take any action, make decisions, it would be great to have a huge amount of clarity on where you are at the moment. Make a list and take stock of your assets, meaning everything that works for you: savings, pensions, property, and so on, that you own, not that you owe. And then liabilities: your credit cards, your loan, your mortgages, and gain visibility not only on, yes, I have a bunch of cards in my wallet that I happen to owe money on, but be clear about what interest rate you're paying and focus on the higher interest rate first and work your way down the list based on the cost to borrow. For those of you who would love to have this problem of having access credit, credit scores are hugely important. It's a 3-digit number that indicates how reliable you are at borrowing and repaying money, ranging from very poor to excellent. A good score can help you get approved for credit cards, loans, and mortgages, while a poor score can stop you from getting approved or can only give you access to very, very, very high interest rates credit, which further down the line, not that beneficial for you. So having a good credit score enhances your borrowing terms. It puts you in a place of strength, and it gives you power to negotiate your credit terms, which is what you want. How to boost your credit score: paying the bills on time, optimizing your credit utilization rate. So meaning how much of what's available to you on the credit card do you actually use? The lower the rate, the better. It's important to diversify your credit mix. It's important to avoid new credit applications. Short period of time with a lot of credit application can really erode your credit score. It can damage your credit score. Avoid moving house too often if possible. And without, once you settle somewhere, putting your name on the electoral list is very, very important. It's one of the most valuable elements that you can do. Check and monitor your credit report. Again, not too often. A lot of banks do give you access to checking your credit report without leaving. Used to leave a lot of footprints on the, and that in turn used to damage the credit score. Now more and more banks give you access to your credit report without leaving footprints. But again, best not to do that too often, although you may be worried at times. Saving strategies. A lot of people ask me questions around saving strategies. How do I save? How do I keep my savings? And then, we unpack strategies to give them access to saving, meaning creating those margins in the income, and then sticking to the plan ahead as soon as it's in motion. Now, to be able to save, again, you look at what could possibly put you in a place where you can keep. It's not about how much money you make, it's how much money you actually get to keep at the end of the month, because that money should go into a savings account, and that potentially creates more options and choices for you. So a lot of people ask me, what do you recommend? What do you suggest we do in terms of budgeting? I am not suggesting rules. I can give you a reference point in the as a 50, 30, 20 rule. It's one of the most popular ones. If anything, what I don't want you to do is feel held hostage to a rule that you can't really apply to your circumstances. I think the best budgeting rule that you can come up with is one that suits you. But having said that, talking about rules in budgeting can really, really, really open up really good conversations, constructive conversations, such as bills and essentials versus discretionary spending. I think understanding what is a need and a want is really, or in my books, how I talk about this usually is non-negotiables and negotiables. In my book, non-negotiables, that is to do with the needs, is everything that keeps the lights on and you and yours at your highest level of well-being. That is a focus that what keeps you going, growing and thriving in any given point in time. And there's no point at potentially at talking about financial planning, strategies, tactics, when you struggle in the now. So for me, part of your budgeting is to understand, what do I need in the now to navigate the now, to feel like I'm growing, I can still show up being the best I can be. The wants is the aspirations you have, the growth, the personal growth, professional growth, and money growth. It's when you look at taking a little bit more risk, or investigating interest rates, learning about risk and return, and all these things that will enable you to put money to work. And then it's about conversations to do with savings and security. For a lot of people who transition from feeling from periods of safety need, security need, survival mode, for those people, talking about investments is probably not a comfortable conversation. And so a lot of conversations start with, I know that so-and-so, all my friends and family, they seem to invest. I feel like I'm missing out. And I would advise you to, yes, talk about options and possibilities, but talk about them in the context of where you are at the moment. So if you need to have cash reserves to navigate the now and the soon, meaning the short to medium term, that's where most of your focus needs to go, without the fear of missing out on investments, because by their nature, investments are hugely volatile, are uncertain. It may be not what you need in the now. So just making peace with that, settling on a way to save without taking a huge amount of risk that works for you, that can be good enough.
Just a quick question on that, Alina, because I think there's a message in the chat that when we think about the savings and the kind of wants, one question that's coming is around home ownership as opposed to investments. How do you make that decision? Does it come down to, what's more important to you, or how would you navigate that topic?
I'm so glad you asked the question, Jen. And it does come up more often, and I think it's to do with the anxiety that people get from increasing interest rates and so on. I would say that if you already can stay on top of your debt, and if you have two projects that compete for the same money, when it comes to mortgages, I think a lot of decisions are being made from a place of fear because of that uncertainty. What if the interest rates rise and I'm going to be caught out? Isn't it better to just repay, get the debt out of the way? Now, the question is, where would you create more opportunity with that same amount of money? Is it through repayment, i.e. plugging gaps at whatever between like 2% to 5%? Or is it better put to work through investments, sometimes pensions, taking advantage of the 20% tax relief and all those growth elements that combined can put that money in a better place. So if you were to compare, £100 put into a mortgage versus £100 put into an investment over the same period of time, if you apply, put that same £100 into a calculator, you'd be shocked to see how much money you can earn, how much money you can grow through the same money put at work through interest rates or investment returns versus how much money you actually save by plugging the gaps, the debt, again, over the same period of time. So there's different philosophies. I know that we have a very subjective relationship with debt. Some people can sleep better at night when they feel like I've done it, I'm repaying it, I'm going to be debt clear, clear of debt by the time I retire. I would just say that being in debt is not always a bad thing. And if you can stay on top of that, you can release some of the money that you earn on an ongoing basis to put them towards savings and investments that could be more lucrative for you. So hopefully I'm answering the question. Again, it's to do with your own circumstances. But I would say probably as a rule of thumb, when you make money decisions, whether you're looking debt versus savings and investments, if the rate of return through savings and investments can be greater than the cost to borrow through your mortgages, I think you need to put those in balance and look at that situation through the lenses of opportunity rather than fear and uncertainty. Again, whatever rule you apply, it's always valuable to know your numbers. Income, take away expenditure, and looking at the surplus. It's valuable for, again, wherever you are on the journey, whether you're at the beginning of your journey, trying to figure out, with the income that you have, an expenditure that you have to commit to, what is the surplus that you can count on to create further options and choices. Whether you're mid-career, and again, your income needs to cater for more and more complexity in your expenditure, in your life planning, and so on. This is valuable too. And especially if you're more so only because I've had more conversations in the retirement space lately, if you are ready to step into that pre-retirement planning phase, having a review of your income versus expenditure, having an absolute clarity on the expenditure as a measure of how costly your lifestyle is, can really open up huge amount of constructive conversations in terms of retirement planning, in terms of understanding that if you can sustain the lifestyle that you want in retirement without running out of money. And I know it sounds simple, but it's not easy, is it? So it's very good to be aware of all these strategies and tactics, and then ask yourself, so what does that mean to me? And sit down with yourself, with your partners, or with a professional to kind of unpack what does that look like to you. Now, I spoke about rules and decisions that you can actively take in terms of understanding what comes in, what goes out, what's the surplus, what sort of savings and investments I can create for the now, the soon, and the later. Now, my favorite bit about money management is that when you create a process, you can actually create conditioning. So you don't have to make these decisions on an ongoing basis. Once you make those decisions, such as paying yourself first. So after you've monitored your income, expenditure, and surplus for a while, you know that roughly you're able to keep an amount of money, whatever the weather. It's like a baseline that you have, and that's more likely to keep whatever happens. And so instead of waiting until the end of the month to save that money, you can choose to pay yourself first, meaning you take that money out, you create a standing order, a direct debit into savings, investments at the beginning of the month. Put the money to work first thing. And out of sight, out of mind, and whatever you choose to do during the month, that money that you saved and invested at the beginning of the month run in the background for you. Now, it's important to stick to the budget. And so sticking to the budget means that you have a mindful way to spend. I often, when I start the conversation with my clients, we create a mindful spending diary, meaning looking forward, not looking back. Whatever's being spent in the past, you can't unspend. So it's all to do with the future. Understand what you're spending on. Is that a non-negotiable, meaning a need, or a negotiable, meaning a want? And it's good to review that on a regular basis. I'm talking about maybe once a year. Why? Because when you start earning more, what happens is, as humans, we are very creative in how we spend the money. And so what used to be once a want now becomes a need. What used to be a structured approach now has become an intuitive approach. And so we could get caught offside. So it's really, really important to review, stick to the budget, put some rules in place about what you can or cannot do, what you're saying yes to now, or you say no to now because you want to say later. So managing those trade-offs is very important. Automate your process, pay your bills and everything else, or automate in an automated kind of way, because if you don't think about it, you get to reclaim that mind space that by being free, you can make better, more informed decisions. You can process a little bit more. You can be more relaxed about what's coming your way that you may not be aware about. Save your salary increases. Like I said, as we spend more, our circumstances can become more complex, or we just become a little bit more creative because, we earn more, we can afford more. Yay. And so if you want to stay on top of your habits and kind of and stick to the budget whilst creating more opportunity, more options and choice, then save your salary increases. You either do it by putting money away of the new amount that you can keep, or through the bonuses and everything else that comes your way. You can choose, depending on your, again, aspirations, priorities, circumstances, you can choose to redirect that into your pension. So you don't pay tax on that, and you can benefit from tax relief and everything else that runs in the background of your retirement contributions, and you get to invest and save better this way. And create savings milestones. Like I said, you will always hear me and my clients never tire, because it's actually a good framework to hear about the now, the soon, the later. Create savings milestones. What are the things and experiences that you want to have access to? Are they important, urgent, beneficial to you in the now, the soon, the later? By doing this, you create sufficiency. So no longer, scraping the barrel and looking at things through through the lenses of scarcity. A lot of people stay on decisions waiting to happen because of the fear of, what if I lose money through investments? What if I don't have enough to cover the now? So creating a plan, putting enough away for the now, planning for the soon, and then preparing bit by bit for later gives you that sense of sufficiency. Also, it allows you to build resilience, the ability to navigate whatever life comes your way. If you have an emergency fund, if you have protection in place, insurances, you can sleep better at night knowing that whatever the weather, you can bounce back whilst continuing to grow and improve as a person and as a professional, which is basically is the core, the substance behind all of it. Emotional and financial resilience. Independence, again, it gives you a sense of independence by not relying on others financially. Now, it doesn't mean that if you were to go through a period of career breaks for whatever reason, there's no value in looking at benefits out there. There's no value in talking to debt advisors. These are resources that can be part of your toolkit and can give you that confidence to review, reset, and realign your behavior and habits and with your personal circumstances. There's no shame in that. Just look around, assess the resources at your fingertips and use them. It doesn't have to fall all on you. Okay, just ask for help to sustain that independence too. The process you create around financial health can give you peace of mind. Not feeling stressed about money can help you show up at home better. You show up at work better. You show up in front of your clients in a better state. And with better state, you can then formulate solutions at work, at home, with your money too. And you know, we talk about wealth creation and so on. And yes, I'm in the money business. Prosperity is about building wealth, building assets that sustain you in the now, the soon, the later. But also the prosperity comes from having enough money to do what you want to do, to invest in your personal well-being, to connect with the people you want to connect, to be the person that you want to be, to have the things and experiences that you need to have in order to grow and thrive and survive. Tax allowances, I know we're short of time. I'm going to browse through them. Again, tax allowances give you that breathing space to think opportunity and grow wealth in a very easy, straightforward way. When we talk about allowances, we look at income tax, capital gains tax. Income tax is the tax on your income. Capital gains tax is the tax on the gains that you earn as a result of, buying and selling shares, for example. Income tax is tiered, as you probably know. Anything that you earn above the 50,000 starts really to eat sharply into the potential of your salary, going from 20 to 40. And for those that earn over 125,000, you can, again, there's a rise. That makes it even more compelling once you earn more than 50,000 to look at retirement contributions in a strategic way to reduce your taxable income whilst you're creating that financial security for later. Capital gains tax is important to understand, is because DIY investing is so common nowadays, and there's a huge choice and options and so on. But it's very important to understand that the gain that you may have through normal general investing accounts can be taxing. It can incur tax unless you choose to use your ISA allowances first. So if you want to invest in a way that you shield that growth from tax and you get to keep more of that return, I would say if you want to invest, look at your stocks and shares ISAs first. After you've maximized those allowances, of course, you can go outside. You do have a personal allowance of 3,000 every year that you pay no tax on, and above that, up to 50,000, you pay 10 or 18% tax, depending on whether if you're a basic taxpayer and then higher for higher and additional rate taxpayers. So part of the savings is planning for big expenditures, including buying a house, having a family, etc. So when it comes to planning, again, it's important to understand what is my income, what are my savings, what is the surplus income that I can create on an ongoing basis. Can I benefit from external support? Benefits out there, any financial help I can get, and then looking at what is my borrowing capacity, starting with your deposit, and then your ability to navigate debt. For a lot of my younger clients, they think, I'm doing the right thing, I'm saving away, and in a lot of cases, what they leave as outside that conversation is money needed to move, money needed to furnish, money needed to pay for emergencies. Because if you own a home, if you own it with power, you have a sense of you have responsibility too. So it's not about can I afford a home, can I afford a big project? It's about all those elements of risk, liability that comes with it that you need to prepare for. So getting organized is creating a goal, understanding what does that really mean? What is the value that I'm striving for? What do I need to aim for? Use what's available also in terms of free money, the government schemes such as lifetime ISAs. For those of you who want to get onto the property ladder, understanding how a lifetime ISA works in your favor is absolutely key. The government bonuses really topping up your ongoing savings and investments, absolutely golden. Take all the free money that you can get your hands on. Is it in aiming for a goal and understanding what resources you have in terms of am I equipped or not? The next best thing is to understand if your ongoing spending, if your ongoing lifestyle can really support that goal, and you're likely to stay on track. So understanding how you can potentially reduce your spending and be creative about that is absolutely key. And once you've gone onto a luge, you have a system about what comes in, what goes out. You can predict a fair amount of your outgoings and so on. You can then use an app to track your progress, to give you a validation of what you do, or to trigger you to think about solutions. What else can I do to stay on track? So, in a nutshell, the absolute basics of financial planning is review where you are now, then reset your aspirations and expectations. And if you must, you can choose one of those rules, 50, 30, 20 rules. You need to be able to take steps to be more secure and better protected, meaning you can refine your approach. Okay, you refine your approach. You go from, okay, I used to spend that much. Now I don't need to spend that much. Understanding where you need to move on that scale, and set your goals, get started, and track your progress. So again, going from an intuitive approach to a more structured approach that will keep you on track versus the goals that you aim for. And that is me in a nutshell. The foundational bit done. I'm just wondering, Jen, do we have any questions? Has this been useful in any way?
I'm sure it has been, but yeah, any feedback do share in the chat or with Helen and Eloise afterwards. Quite a few questions, some of which will be covered in the upcoming webinars around things like pensions, for example. But one that I thought there might be a quick answer to, Alina. There was a question in the chat about which stocks and shares ISAs you'd recommend. And obviously we can't recommend any by name, but I thought a helpful answer to that question could be where someone could have a look to better understand what would be right for them.
Yeah, so you can use comparison sites, really useful. They give you a broader picture of the world in terms of what's out there. When you look at stocks and shares, you just be mindful of costs. If it's a costly solution, it means that you have less money left to invest, which eats into your profit and so on, into the return and so on. So just being mindful of the cost to manage, who you're managing, who you're investing with. I know that a lot of when you ask friends and family, they will tell you, talk to you about things like ETFs and market trackers, because they're like cheap and cheerful, and there's nothing wrong to starting there. And so, or you can go on a platform such as Best Invest and other platforms like Hargreaves Lansdown, Fidelity. Shops where you can have access to a wider market, and that allows you to compare different solutions and make a really informed decision.
Great, thank you, Alina. I know we're coming up to time, so what we will do is the remaining questions will give a brief summary in the follow-up sent out to you all around, for example, when you should consider working with a financial advisor, pensions, and also navigating tax brackets. But all of these we have jotted down to cover in the next session, which is coming up in a couple of months. So we'll signpost to that as well. As I say, any feedback greatly appreciated, so feel free to put it in the chat or send to us directly. We look forward to having you on the next session. Anything you wanted to share, Alina? Some parting words?
Yes, I would say I had a look at the questions. I think pensions is one of those elements that a lot of people take, focus on at different stages in life. I think just understanding the opportunity behind pension contributions is key. I know that following the pandemics, a lot of people just focusing on surviving in the now. They, for a lot of younger professionals, seem to be a good strategy to come out of pension contributions, so to secure the most take-home money, forgetting about all the free money that they get through their employer, the tax relief, and the fact that they don't pay tax on that portion that goes into the pension, which means that the impact on the take-home money could be actually less than they would have actually thought. So as a result of our ongoing conversations, I can see a lot of people moving back into the pension contribution space because they understand the benefit of it from a tax point of view. A lot of people that jump from 20, 30 to 60, usually it may happen in certain professions, and I think in this profession can happen a lot as a result of career progression. A lot of people forget that all of a sudden they have this disposable, this higher salary, and with higher salary comes higher tax. So just keeping abreast of this and understanding, okay, now I'm earning more, I'm likely to pay more tax. What do I do about that? And how does it impact things like childcare, like other elements that are make part of the fabric of the day-to-day running of the finances. So having broader view, starting with the day-to-day, and then expand it to on a timeline from again, now, soon, and later, really helps drive constructive conversations. And that's kind of from me.
Perfect, thank you. And yeah, we'll go through the others next time. I was just double checking the diary. The next one's on the 4th of July, so mark it in your diaries and we will go through them then. And if you have any questions you want answered in that session, then you can feel free to reach out to SLS and they'll let us know too. Perfect. Well, I think we'll leave it there. So thank you all for joining, and yeah, look forward to hearing your feedback and any other questions you might have.
Thank you. Oh, there's a question, sorry, for the people who can stay at the after party, and just because I've noticed the question, at what point should young professionals consider working with a financial advisor? So working with a financial advisor can come with fees and charges. I think at any point in time you can talk to a financial advisor, but more so when your financial circumstances become more complex, when you start thinking about retirement strategies, when you talk about investments, just understanding those, setting them up, when you talk about estate planning. So as soon as your circumstances become more complex, when you look at more sort of in the horizon beyond the here and now, and you try to make sure that with high income you minimize tax and you can live, you can gift in a tax effective way, and so on. Once your circumstances become more complex, yes, employing a financial advisor does benefit. In the meantime, you can always talk to a financial coach who is, they can't recommend solutions to you, but they can help you access your best ideas. They can help you boost your knowledge and can really help you improve the quality of your decision making. So and that comes at a lesser cost than a financial advisor. So different professionals, but different things depending on the stage you're at. Just be mindful and go after that. Grab a thinking partner, whether they are a financial coach or financial advisor, and make the most of it. Instead of just sitting on your decisions and trying to do, or stay away from making decisions for fear of failure.
Great, thank you. I'm conscious we've run over, so we'll leave it there. But yeah, look forward to seeing everyone on the 4th of July. And yeah, any parting words, Alina?
Likewise, I look forward to it. I thank you very much for having us. And I know we had a technical glitch and we started later. Hopefully next time, smoother. But it's been an absolute pleasure. And please do not hesitate to send us questions. And we will come running, try the best we can try to answer your questions. But hopefully this has been of value, and we wait for your feedback, because that's how we grow and we learn to add even more value to people such as yourselves. Thank you.